Good morning, boys and girls. We are looking at Zoey and Sassafras, Dragons and Marshmallows, lesson 12.16. Let's go ahead and dive right in. We can start off with our morning greeting. I am kind. I am smart. I am loved. I am important. I believe in myself. I can do anything. And our class mission statement, our mission is to always help others, to try even when it's hard, to be kind to each other, and to be kind to ourselves. For question check-in, let's go ahead and make sure that our listening ears are turned on. You can show me that your eyes are on my screen. You can hold up cactus hands for me and show me that you are not holding any toys, pencils, markers, anything that could distract you, and go ahead and wave good morning to each other. You can put your hands down and take a deep breath. Go ahead and let that breath out. Are you going to give this lesson your absolute best? Give me 2 thumbs up. Fantastic. Remember, we are recording every lesson that we have here so that you can go back and watch the lesson again if you need to. And don't forget about our classroom rules. Here are our lesson goals for today. I can continue reading Zoey and Sassafras, Dragons and Marshmallows. I can learn about the characters and setting in the story. And I can continue to explore how characters respond to events in the plot. All right, we are going to be reading Zoey and Sassafras, Dragons and Marshmallows together, continuing to read this story. But before we do, let's go ahead and explore characters and setting. The setting is where and when the story takes place. The setting could be in the present day like now. It could be way back then in the past, like in the colonial days, or it could also be in the future, right? We could be listening to a fiction or a science fiction book that is based in the future. The characters are the people, animals, or fictional beings in a story. So when you are reading a fiction book, you'll have not only people, sometimes you'll have animals, talking animals, or sometimes you'll have fictional beings like mermaids, okay, or minions, like in this picture. So make-believe beings can also be characters in the story. Let's go over our words to know. The first word to know is slumped. Go ahead and say the word slumped. Wonderful. Do you remember what the word slumped means? So slumped means bent over or leaned against something. For example, the runner was so tired that she slumped over and leaned against the tree. Next word to know is nuzzled. Go ahead and say the word nuzzled. Fantastic. Do you remember what the word nuzzled means? Nuzzled means gently pressed against something with the mouth or nose. For example, we fed the horse carrots, and he nuzzled us by gently pressing his nose against our hands. Boys and girls, you can go ahead and take a quick brain break. Go ahead and pause this recording for however long you want to, and press play when you are ready to continue reading Zoey and Sassafras. All right, I would love it if you'd read aloud with me. I know that this is a recording, but I do want you to still practice reading out loud, tracking the words with your finger as I track them with my laser point, and reading at a good pace with expression. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Zoey and Sassafras, Dragons and Marshmallows. Chapter 12. Carnivore? Omnivore. I darted around the kitchen. I needed some kind of animal meat. I opened the fridge. Yes, I'd forgotten that Dad had gone fishing with his friends a few days before. He always saves a few of the smallest fish as treats for Sassafras. I grabbed 2 fish. Hey, Sassafras, can you share one of these with Marshmallow? Sassafras started at both fish and Sassafras stared at both fish and meowed loudly. He grabbed one, dropped it in his food bowl, and took a bite. That left me with one fish. I figured that counted as permission to share it with the baby dragon. I didn't want to see if Sassafras would change his mind. I quickly gathered the other things I needed for the experiment and went straight to the barn with Sassafras at my heels. If Marshmallow ate either the fish or the worms, but ignored the plants, he was probably a carnivore. If he ate just the plants, he was probably an herbivore. And if he ate both meat and plants, he was probably an omnivore. I knew I should be writing all of this in my journal, but it would have to wait until later. Little Marshmallow needed me to be quick. He was still lying there, slumped on the ground and barely awake. I didn't think he'd make it over to the plates, so I put them all right in front of him. Sassafras meowed and stared at the fish longingly. I picked him up and petted him. It gave my nervous hands something to do. I waited. Nothing happened. Little Marshmallow was too weak. I snuggled Sassafras and tried to think. What could I do? Maybe I should put the food right up to his mouth? I dangled some worms in front of him and wiggled them. Want a little taste? Marshmallow took a lick and then laid his head back down. I tried the same thing with each of the other foods. He gave them all one lick, but he didn't eat any of them. I sat on the ground and put my head in my hands. I couldn't think any more. Then I heard a sound. I looked up to see Marshmallow crawling over to the fish. He swallowed the whole thing in one gulp. Then he tucked his tail under his head and went to sleep. I crossed my fingers and toes that the fish and the nap would do the trick. It was breaking my heart to see little Marshmallow so sick. Sassafras bumped my chin with his head and purred. He could tell that I was super worried about Marshmallow. I decided to read through the rest of the reptile book, just in case there was something I'd missed. Sassafras curled up in my lap like a warm, rumbling blanket as I read. Chapter 13. Mom. My eyes flew open and I looked around. The reptile book had fallen out of my hands. Sassafras quietly snored on my chest. I must have fallen asleep while I was reading. I heard my dad calling my name. Huh? Was it dinner time already? Sassafras and I ran into the house and looked around, confused. Is it time for dinner? Dad laughed. Did you forget that your mom was coming home today? Mom's back? Mom's back. Mom! I ran to her office, hugged her, and then burst into tears. I messed everything up. There was a baby dragon, and I wasn't sure what was wrong. I fed him marshmallows, and at first he got better, but then he got so sick. I kept feeding him fish, but I don't know if it worked. I don't want him to die, I sobbed. My mom knelt down and looked me in the eye. Oh, Zoe, you must have been very worried, but magical animals are much tougher than you think. Let's go see. Chapter 14. Bigger. Mom walked me out to the barn with her arm around me. I had hoped I could handle all of this on my own. I wanted to impress my mom with a healthy dragon, but to see a sick dragon hadn't helped me. We walked into the barn and stopped. I rubbed my eyes. Whoa! Marshmallow was walking around. He had bright eyes, and he was at least twice as big as he'd been this morning. How did this happen? Dragons must grow really fast. Sassafras was about to walk into the pen, but froze. I think he was also shocked to see how big our little guy had gotten. Marshmallow trotted over and nuzzled him loudly. The two of them jumped around and played while I stared in awe. Mom squeezed me in a big hug. Zoe, I'm so proud. You kept trying even when things got hard. How about we leave these two to play and see if we can convince him with some more fish? Just like that, the day went from awful to wonderful. I did it, even though I made some mistakes along the way. I helped Marshmallow. You can take a well-deserved brain break, guys, and then we will check your understanding. Pause this recording and come back when you're ready. All right, friends, we are ready to check your understanding on some important things from today's reading, discussing characters and setting. Learning coaches, if you could take a picture of one of your students' answer choices and email it to me, that will give them credit for watching this recording. You do not have to take a picture of every answer choice for every question because there are several. However, students, I do want you answering each question with something to write on and something to write with, so a dry erase board, marker, loose leaf paper, pencil. Pause this recording, grab your materials, press play, and pause this recording at any time for any of the questions you need to take your time and answer the question, and then press play once you're ready to reveal the correct answer. Let's go ahead and get started. What is true about Zoe? A, she is able to solve her problem. B, she has more problems to solve. Or C, she makes too many mistakes. You can pause this recording and press play after you've written your answer down. The answer is A, she is able to solve her problem. How would you describe Marshmallow? A, sick, B, healthy, or C, mean? The answer is A, sick. Read the sentence from Zoey and Sassafras. Dragons and marshmallows. As soon as my hands touched Marshmallow's back, I jumped. Why does Zoe jump? A, the dragon feels very warm. B, the dragon is ice cold. Or C, the dragon shoots fire at her. The answer is B, the dragon is ice cold. Next question. When Zoe checks on Marshmallow in the morning, she sees that he isn't moving. What does she do to help him? A, she puts him in the pen with Sassafras. B, she finds more worms for him to eat. Or C, she uses a heater to warm him up. The answer is C, she uses a heater to warm him up. Great work, everyone. Let's review what we learned. I learned about the characters and setting in the story, and I continued to explore how characters responded to events in the plot. You may log off, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.